In the last 24 hours, this fly may have feasted on a pile of feces or a chunk of rotting flesh. Its 6 legs coated with millions of bacteria. Then, in the next second, it lands right on your dinner plate. And you? You may have already eaten food it touched, more than once. So, what's your first reaction? Pure disgust. You reach for the fly swatter. You want it dead. Now. That reaction isn't wrong. It's instinct. It's survival. Let's be honest. We're not here to defend the fly. It is dirty. It is dangerous. It's one of the most instinctively hated creatures on the planet. Nobody's disputing that. What makes the story far more complicated is that this insect isn't just a carrier of disease. The insect you instinctively want to kill performs jobs that countless ecosystems quietly depend on every single day. Very few people think about what would happen if flies disappeared. Without flies, some foods you eat every day would vanish from the world. Certain life-saving medical treatments would stop working, and the entire ecosystem that supports all life could collapse within just a few years. Today, we're taking a fresh look at this creature you've hated your whole life. How did it survive the extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs? Why do scientists believe it will likely outlive human civilization itself? And if every fly on Earth vanished tomorrow, what kind of nightmare would we be facing? If a species has survived for 65 million years, and humans, with every tool, every chemical, every ounce of effort we've thrown at it, still can't wipe it out. Who's really winning this fight? The housefly isn't successful because it's stronger than other insects. It's successful because evolution has refined nearly every part of its biology. Over millions of years, natural selection has continuously refined the fly's anatomy, behavior, and survival strategies. Start with its reproduction. Under ideal conditions, with no predators to stop them, a single pair of houseflies could in just 5 months produce offspring whose combined weight would cover the entire surface of the Earth, several feet deep. But raw reproduction isn't the whole story. Flies are also far harder to catch than you'd think. You think you're just too slow? You're not. In the fly's world, time moves differently. Its compound eyes, built from thousands of tiny lenses, process visual information about 4 times faster than yours. When you think you're swinging that swatter like lightning, to the fly you're moving in slow motion. It has time to plan the perfect escape route, and its body, a marvel of aerodynamics. Behind its main wings sits an organ called the haltere. Think of it as a built-in gyroscope. It lets the fly hover, turn sharply, even reverse direction in a fraction of a second. Powerful smell detection, insane reaction speed, perfect flight control, and the ability to survive in nearly any hostile environment you can throw at it. Put all of that together and you're not looking at a pest. From an evolutionary perspective, the housefly combines an unusually effective set of survival traits. Faced with a machine like this, human fear turned to panic. Throughout history, flies have been among the most effective carriers of diseases affecting both humans and animals. They're the ultimate carriers of typhoid, dysentery, tuberculosis, cholera. Rewind to the wars of the last century. In muddy, overcrowded, filthy trenches, flies moved freely. Between soldiers' waste, between decaying corpses, between ration boxes, back and forth, endlessly, all day, every day. Historians often focus on bullets, artillery, and strategy, yet medical records tell another side of the story. In many military campaigns, infectious disease claimed more lives than combat itself, and flies were among the insects that helped spread those illnesses. Looking at the battlefield this way changes our understanding of what made war so deadly. To fight this enemy, humanity launched a global war on flies, one that lasted decades. By the mid-20th century, powerful chemical pesticides like DDT exploded onto the scene, sprayed across the entire planet. The result? Mass bird deaths, poisoned rivers, a devastating price paid by the entire natural world. And the flies? Thanks to their extreme reproduction rate and a handful of genetic mutations, they developed resistance almost immediately. In this chemical war, humans lost. Badly. We poisoned oceans of rivers and forests to fight one insect. And the flies walked away, stepping right over our poison, still very much alive today. We never succeeded in eliminating flies. Looking back, that failure may have been one of humanity's luckiest accidents. The more ecologists studied these insects, the clearer it became that ecosystems depend on them in ways few people ever notice. Because once we put down the swatter and step back to look at the bigger ecological picture, something deeply counterintuitive emerges, something almost nobody thinks about. In ecological terms, flies perform functions that many ecosystems quietly depend on every single day. What would happen if flies disappeared? In the first few weeks, animal carcasses and fallen leaves in forests, fields, and pastures would stop decomposing at their normal rate. Many ecosystems would lose one of their most effective decomposer communities. Before long, our ecosystems would be choking on their own organic waste and waste products. Worse still, the food chain would break. Flies and their larvae are a basic protein source for swallows, frogs, spiders, and countless species of fish. Take away that one link, and a food web woven together over tens of millions of years starts collapsing. From the bottom up, even something as sweet as chocolate would disappear. We tend to think bees are the only pollinators that matter, but flies are actually the second largest pollinating force on the planet, right behind bees. Over 100 crops depend on them, including onions and carrots. The most dramatic example is chocolate. Cacao flowers have an incredibly tricky structure, like a maze bees simply can't get into. Deep in tropical rainforests, cacao trees rely almost entirely on a tiny fly relative called the midge for pollination. Without these tiny insects we barely give a second thought to, the entire chocolate industry would cease to exist. Ecology explains why flies matter to nature. Medicine explains why they matter to us. Some of the most surprising discoveries about flies didn't happen in forests. They happened inside hospitals. In old field hospitals, the thing surgeons feared most was seeing a wound crawling with maggots. Logically, a wound that infected should be a death sentence. What doctors observed, however, didn't match their expectations. Patients whose wounds were colonized by certain species of maggots often recovered better than patients whose wounds appeared cleaner. Decades of research eventually explained why. Certain species of fly larvae only eat dead, necrotic tissue. They have zero interest in healthy muscle. And while feeding, they secrete natural antibacterial substances that suppress deadly bacteria. The same creature people associated with decay turned out to remove dead tissue more precisely than many early surgical techniques. Even today, maggot debridement therapy is still used in modern hospitals worldwide, when facing drug-resistant infections that even antibiotics can't touch. Diabetic foot wounds, severe ulcers. These once feared creatures of death are now saving human lives, by the thousands, right now, somewhere in the world. Ecology explains the fly's role in nature. Medicine explains its value in healthcare. Genetics reveals something even more remarkable. This tiny insect transformed how scientists investigate inheritance, disease, and the biology of life itself. This unremarkable little insect isn't just nature's janitor. It's one of modern science's most important research partners. Few people know this. The first Earth creatures to travel into space and return alive weren't dogs, weren't monkeys, weren't even close to what you'd expect. They were a handful of unassuming fruit flies. In 1947, they rode a rocket into space and came back alive, giving humanity its very first data on how cosmic radiation affects living organisms, before any astronaut, before any dog named Laika. It was the fruit fly that went first. But the space flight isn't what really made the fly indispensable to science. It's the genes. The fruit fly, that tiny creature buzzing around your rotting bananas, shares about 70% of its known disease-related genes with humans. Because it reproduces so fast and has such a short life cycle, scientists can observe multiple generations of genetic change in just weeks. Research that would take decades in humans gets compressed into months. Today, research into genetics, cancer, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's disease all relies on the fruit fly model. Over the past century, fruit fly research has led to multiple Nobel Prizes. Multiple. This universally despised insect turned out to be one of the biggest driving forces behind modern medical progress on the planet. Many of the breakthroughs that changed modern medicine, breakthroughs that are saving lives right now, started with a single fruit fly buzzing around a piece of rotting fruit in a lab. Maybe that's the most unbelievable gift it's ever given us. So let's return to the question we began with. What would tomorrow actually look like if every fly disappeared tonight? Tomorrow, when the sun rises, corpses and waste would start piling up. Countless birds and fish would face starvation. Cacao trees would stop bearing fruit. Endless medical and genetic research would grind to a halt. The world might appear cleaner at first, but many of the ecological processes we depend on would slowly begin to break down. 60 million years ago, when the disaster that wiped out the dinosaurs swept across the planet, flies thrived in the ruins of giants. They witnessed the arrival of ice ages. They witnessed the rise of human civilization. They carry death and decay on their bodies. But at the deepest level, they nurture life for the entire world. Next time a fly buzzes down onto your food, you still have every right to swat it. You should. For your health. Keep your distance. Stay safe. But maybe right as you bring that swatter down, a new thought will cross your mind. We're allowed to hate it, but we should never underestimate it. Nature has never depended on perfection. It depends on countless organisms quietly doing jobs that few of us ever notice. Flies happen to be one of them. The fly survived the extinction of the dinosaurs. It survived the ice ages. To this creature, human civilization is just a single moment in an impossibly long story of survival. And if there's ever life left to witness a world after humans, after everything we've built has crumbled and gone quiet, the fly is one of the most likely candidates to still be standing there, watching, same as it always has.